Hello and welcome to For the Love of Truth. This is episode 225 and is another in the Back to Health series. Today I am speaking to Cecile. And Cecile's story really starts health wise when she returned from a trip to New Zealand when she was younger. And in the course of our discussion, she details about how her health got progressively worse and the various things that the doctors tried to do to assist. And it was only when she took charge of her own health and started to do research into what had been prescribed in order to help her condition that she started to make some different choices and really took full responsibility for her own health pathway. In addition, she talks to us about her children and one of her daughters in particular, whose health radically changed after a very quick visit to a doctor to get what many consider to be a routine treatment that is offered to all youngsters these days. Cecile's story is like so many other stories we've been hearing recently, where taking responsibility and charge for your own health, deciding what you will do to your body and have done to your body, and focusing in on detoxification and correct and proper nutrition. And she also goes on to detail how it doesn't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to be difficult. It's more often than not just common sense. It is a delightful discussion that we had, and I believe you will enjoy it. And if you have a health story that you would like to share with me, then I'd like to talk to you about that. The easiest way to reach me is to go to fortheloveoftruth.co.uk, click on Contact Us, and fill in a web form and send that to me so that we can start a discussion. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you in the next episode. Take care. Bye bye. First of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on the show. And by the way, is that another piece of your artwork behind you?
Yeah, yes, yes. Here you go.
That's really, you're such a good artist. That's
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you. Yeah, I like filling up with color and all sorts of details and stuff. And I have a passion for everything with domes, so
Yeah.
mosque and Kremlin and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, I thought it would be. It's funny you were saying before we started to record this that we're all saying the same thing. I see reflections of myself in all of you as well. That we've all got the same message, and that was the whole purpose behind me doing this series was for people to recognize that if you just do some basic stuff, you can claim your health back. It's not
Yeah,
complex at all.
yeah. And you don't need to be a scientist. You don't need to be a doctor. You just need to be a common people, and you just need to be, I don't know, to listen to your gut, your inner voice, to the little experience you go through your life,
Yeah.
and eventually we all wake up. We all realize what needs to be done, and how
Absolutely.
come, yeah, and how to get to, because the perfect health is what we are born with.
Yes.
So our body and our mind will always aim to that.
Yes.
Like you can't go over, you can't do something different. Eventually, it's not going to work. You just have to,
That's right.
aim to the perfect health.
That's good. So could you start maybe by telling us a little bit about your background and your story as it
Yeah.
unfolded?
Okay. So I'm born, I would say, the regular, common girl who went to school, who got, vaccinated. I have a twin sister, so we were born, preterm, so we were vaccinated in time. I have my vaccination book from France where everything has been followed up and stuff.
Hmm.
And when I was about 13, my mom took me for a shot, and I really had a bad reaction. Like I was having temperature and
Hmm.
lost consciousness. And my mom spent the night, beside my bed, and she really thought I was going to pass. And she swore to me that I will never get vaccinated again, and it was, useless, worthless, and stuff. And and after that, we all healed and got better, and I forgot about it.
Hmm.
I just went on and lived my life. So when I was about 27, I had the opportunity to go to New Zealand. So I thought, I better check with my doctor to see, if that's okay to go and stuff. And he said, oh, if you go over there, you need to get a lot of shots like typhoid, yellow fever, and maybe some hepatitis B shot as well and stuff. And I said, whatever you think is right. I really thought, he had the white coat. So I
Hmm.
didn't question that. So I
Hmm.
got a little yellow booklet for vaccination travel, and I got all the shot. And while I was getting all the shot, I had to stay over, I'd say about half an hour,
Yeah.
in the doctor, lying down, and because he said in case you have a side effect, and I said, oh, I thought vaccination were safe. Like, so we can have side effects.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't have anything, so everything was fine and stuff. So I went to New Zealand. I had a fabulous year and stuff. And it was only for a year. So when I came back, I don't know if it was the fact of coming back from, the summer over there and, leaving all the friends you made for a year and stuff. But I was really, I don't know, in a bad place. Like I was really depressed, and I
Hmm.
had a lot of problem with my health. Like I
Hmm.
really thought I had a bacteria in my stomach because I was losing a lot of weight very quickly, and I was like, and my health was really turning poorly.
Hmm.
So I thought, oh, what the hell was going on? So I said maybe it's just the place where I am. So
Yeah.
I was in Paris with my sister, so I decided maybe I'll just move. I'll just apply for jobs and
Hmm.
and have another adventure. So my
Yeah.
adventure brought me to Ireland. So that's where I
Hmm.
am now in Dublin. And I wasn't in Dublin first. I was in County Clare and stuff. So everything went well, and I think everything went better because I didn't have a doctor anymore. Like I spent like the year coming to that where I
Yeah.
didn't see a doctor. I was taking no medication. Everything was fantastic. And then I met my husband, and I had a little scare before. We were trying to get pregnant, and I had what it's called a mole pregnancy. And the mole pregnancy is like you think you're growing a baby, but it's not a baby. It's like would I say a mistake which happened in your body where there's no heartbeat, but there's a kind of a grape
Hmm.
form like growing in your uterus.
Hmm.
So at 3 months they noticed there was no heartbeat, so they said we need to take it off. So it was taken off, and then I was offered a chemotherapy because they said, you should go and get this because it might come back, or it might there might be a bit of leftover and you might develop a cancer in future years. And I said, yeah, but I just might. And I said, I look into it and it's very rare. It's like 10% rare. So I don't
Hmm.
think I need a chemotherapy. So for 6 months, I got a phone call probably every week asking me if I wanted to take this chemo and saying that it was much better. And the oncologist calling me. And I kept refusing. I just said, no, I don't want it. So
Hmm.
eventually they left me alone 6 months later, and they told me I'll have a difficulty having kids and maybe I will be sterile in the future or things like that. Lots of
Hmm.
I don't know, fear mongering. But
Hmm.
anyway, I was told to stay away from pregnancy from 2 years. So
Hmm.
I waited for the 2 years, and when the 2 years checkup came, I felt pregnant straight away.
Hmm.
So in my chart, I just mentioned I had a mole pregnancy, and they were like very surprised. They were like, "Oh, usually, it's hard to have a baby and stuff like that." So
Hmm.
my first baby I had when I was 35. And when I was pregnant, I was offered the ROGAM shot because I'm a rhesus negative. And I didn't know at that time. They never asked me, my husband rhesus, they just gave it to me, So
Hmm.
you get one shot while you're pregnant at say about 30 weeks and one after your pregnancy. And like my baby was fine, but I noticed she's completely different from all my other kids. Like
Hmm.
she's slightly autistic. She's very, she keeps for herself. Like such a she was such a quiet baby that I was bored. Like I
Hmm.
had to look after other babies, to kind of because she was just a baby by the book, like never any problem or whatever. But she was missing, she wasn't playing as much. She was not social. She was not walking. She was really delayed from other
Hmm.
babies. But I was told there was nothing wrong with her,
Hmm.
and came to probably about 4 or 5 when she started Montessori school. Yeah, so she was 3 years old.
Hmm.
She was completely mute. She wouldn't talk.
Hmm.
So we were saying, oh, it's because of you. You speak French at home, so you have her, confused with two languages. But there's nothing wrong with your daughter. She's just very shy and confused with the language. But the only thing, she stayed mute up until she was 7.
Hmm.
And I never had a diagnostic. I always told, the teacher at school, do you think she's autistic? And they always told me, no, not really. She's just very quiet. I think they couldn't really see, you know, anything with her. Like,
Hmm.
they just thought she was just the perfect child who had nothing to say and, who was
Hmm.
just the sitting there and doing nothing. So it was perfect with school.
Hmm.
And but anyway, came the age of 7, she started to come out of this blur, of this
Hmm.
silent blur. And we had a, I don't know, I was reaching to her, and we had a lot of talk to her, and she always told me that she was there, but she was like, she couldn't come out, she couldn't
Hmm.
break the wall. And she
Mhm.
said she was not in pain, but she was very, I don't know, she was deprived of any feelings. Like she had no, by example, now she's an animal whisperer. She's very intuitive and stuff like that. But all
Mm.
those things, she didn't have them while she grew up. She was really a kind of a, I don't know, prison into a bubble. So
Mhm.
when she started to talk, she started to become like, she's not, outgoing now, but
Mm.
she's much more intuitive, I don't know, confident. And as I say, slightly autistic regarding the social part of it. Like by
Mhm.
example, she's going to be 16 in September. So, but
Mm.
she's not a 16-year-old. She likes to play. She likes to do her own thing. She doesn't care about the fashion. She doesn't care about anything.
Mm.
She's just passionate about her own thing, and
Mhm.
she couldn't care less to be judged. When she gives her friendship to somebody, it's for life.
Mhm.
She's really like a, I don't know. She's a special shy to me because I don't want her to change. But she always told me that she was in that kind of I don't know, bubble where she couldn't communicate with people, and she didn't know how, and she didn't know. So she was just it all came from, as I say, at 7,
Mm.
where she kind of started probably to exercise more, so to
Mhm.
detox more.
Mhm.
And then in the meantime, so much many things happens. So when she was small, and my second child, my son, was born as well, my dad was coming out of a divorce with my mother, and he was
Mhm.
living with my sister. And he had I would say he was working in a nuclear, so he had a really good I would say a perfect healthcare, meaning he
Mhm.
was looked after, probably he had everything. But
Mhm.
all his life, my dad took no tablets whatsoever. The only thing he knew he had was high blood pressure, but
Mhm.
he refused to take anything. He always said, whatever goes wrong with me, I'll bring it to my death because I don't want to go in an hospital or whatever.
Mhm.
But when he was 60, going through the divorce, my sister, who was really caring for him, bring him to the doctor regularly and stuff like that. And my dad was going to visit my granny, every so often. And
Mhm.
my granny had a brain aneurysm
Mhm.
while he was over visiting, and I think it gave him a shock. It was
Mhm.
his first trauma, because after that his health started to deteriorate,
Mhm.
and he had a problem with his heart, like a kind of mini heart attack.
Mm.
So he was put a stent, and he was given about, I'd say, 6 or 7 medication that he had
Mm.
to take. So he started to go in that. And while he went into that, my sister told me he was offered the flu shot as well, because he had to
Mhm.
go and see the cardiologist and stuff, and it's a bit mandatory.
Mhm.
And 2 months later, my dad woke up in the morning, and he couldn't move from the bed. He couldn't go to the toilet or anything.
Mm.
So my sister called an ambulance. He went into an ambulance, and he was paralyzed. Like from
Oh God.
one night going to bed to the following day paralyzed. So they kept him on thinking maybe it was a one-off, that
Yeah.
after a few days or few weeks it will wear off, but it didn't.
Yeah.
So eventually they started to investigate all sorts of possibilities. Like
Mhm.
they went from multiple sclerosis, which was more likely, to lupus, to transverse myelitis, to Guillain-Barré syndrome, to all that, without really being sure. But
Mhm.
in the meantime, he was having more and more treatment. He even
Mhm.
had a brain. Uh, they were taking, sample of his brain,
Oh
sample
yeah.
of his spine, loads of things like that. I think he had a chemotherapy session to see if he was responding to that, because no medication was getting him out.
Yeah.
And eventually, after probably about 6 months, they said that, I'd say, he was on high medication and stuff like that. He was not doing, he was not getting better. So he
Mm.
was staying for good in the hospital. He wasn't allowed to come home, back home at the weekend or anything like that. He was
Mm.
kept, for good. And then came the swine flu pandemic. And of course, because he was in the hospital, he was given that shot.
Mhm.
And when he was given that shot, he deteriorated very quickly.
Mhm.
He started to have epilepsy seizures. And
Mhm.
because of his condition, he straight away he got a DNR, a do not resuscitate.
Mhm.
So he was having a regular epilepsy seizure, but he wasn't to be intubated anymore. He was only
Mhm.
intubated once, and then he got the do not resuscitate.
Mhm.
So because of the epilepsy seizures were really bad,
Mm.
he was put in the palliative care, and we
Mhm.
were told that we had only 3 months to spend with him, that he was going to die.
Mm.
And I was in denial, the rest of my family as well. Like, we were thinking, he's only 60.
Hmm.
It cannot be true. He's going to come back.
Yeah.
He's going to walk. They'll find a cure or whatever. We couldn't believe it. But, I don't know, when you go into those places, palliative care, we call them mouroirs in French, which means place where you die,
Yeah.
so there's no way out.
Hmm.
You are under morphine, you're not
Hmm.
fed because you cannot feed yourself, so you're not fed by the spoon.
Well,
So
you're no longer
it
living, are you?
no, you just waste away, and you're a vegetable on the bed, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So eventually my dad passed away, and it was a lot of misery because it happened in a lapse of 2 years, and it
Mm.
was getting worse and worse. And as I say, we were in denial. We were expecting a miracle. We thought we had another 20 years to live with my dad, and it was a real big shock with my sister.
Mm.
My sister, had to go through counseling because she suffered with I don't know, loads of probably guilt and
Hmm.
remorse, and and depression after that. And me,
Yeah.
because I was living away, I thought I was a bit better, and I could look back on the old picture, and and think, "But that's the way it meant to be." And as well, I've always been more spiritual, so I
Yeah.
kind of was connecting to his soul, and I was thinking the afterlife is much better and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
everything was fine. I didn't really look into all the process coming to his death like as something I should take notes or experience
Hmm.
about or whatever. It was just, whenever I called my sister, she would tell me, "Oh, do you know that dad got the flu shot before he got his problem with his heart?" And then she'll tell me, "Do you know that dad got the swine flu shot before he got his epilepsy?" And I was like, but it was dots, but I wasn't connecting them,
Yeah. Yeah.
together. I was just,
Hmm.
the information was coming in, but I was like, okay. Yeah, I was just not
Hmm.
thinking about that.
Yeah.
And then I had my third and my fourth child. So I was 46 when I had my fourth child. So I was at risk.
Hmm.
And when I had her, everything went well. She was born perfect, but they thought she had Down syndrome or everything like that. So she was taken from me, given a bottle, even though I didn't want to, and stuff like that. But eventually she went back to me, and they said, no, it's just the birth, coming out, but she was a little bit, her head was a little bit traumatized, but she doesn't have,
Hmm.
Down syndrome or anything like that. And so she was my last baby. So I don't know, my eyes were more on her than any other baby, because I always had a sister or brother who were pregnant
Hmm.
after the other. So when I brought her to her 18-month shot, I always delayed the vaccine because I always thought in my gut that it was too much for such a small baby. So I always probably started vaccinating my babies where they were about 6 months.
Hmm.
And then I'll catch up. I'll do 6, 8, 10, and 12, like a
Hmm.
kind of but not when they were super small. I was waiting.
Mm.
But, there's no need to delay poison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if you give it at 2 months or at birth or at six
Hmm.
months, after 2 years, poison
Hmm.
is poison, whatever
Mm.
it is. So it didn't make a difference. So
Hmm.
at 18 months, I think she got her probably her 12-month shot or something like that. And she had a really bad reaction where
Mm.
she had a lot of temperature. I couldn't cap her down. I could see her brain was swollen, like,
Hmm.
her forehead was really swollen. Her
Hmm.
eyes were looking inward. She was fading away, a lot of diarrhea, vomiting,
Hmm.
diarrhea, and stuff like that. And every day when she was, and the temperature will come, like it will be for 2 or 3 days, and then it will go for a week, and
Mm.
then it will come back, and she'll have a
Hmm.
bout of temperature and stuff like that. And I'll be like, so I'll be always at my doctor saying, since the shot, she's not doing well. And he was
Mm.
like, "Do you know what? She's all normal. It's all in your head. Babies have a certain reaction, but it's all good. She will eat, she will thrive. Eventually, her eyes will get better. You should see, a specialist for the eyes and stuff like that." And I noticed as well that she was walking perfect, at that time. And after the shot, whenever she felt better to walk,
Mm.
her walking was inward,
Mm.
like feet like that.
Hmm.
So I was like, and she was fading away, and and I was like, there's something wrong, but it's like I didn't have any how would I say any voice, like the
Hmm.
doctor was just rebooting me. And because I think things happen in the universe, we got our house broken into, one night, and
Mm.
we got money stolen and bits and pieces stolen, or car
Mm.
stolen and stuff like that. But our car broke down the road, so eventually we found it. It wasn't too much of a
Yeah.
big deal, but I think it was the little drop on top of my glass meaning
Hmm.
I put so much into what was happening and
Yeah.
what I was living through that on that day I realized that I had out of body experiences, like I
Hmm.
was sitting but I wasn't in my body anymore.
Yeah.
And I had like a really blank moment where I was driving the car and I wouldn't, like I was at the red light and I was leaving my body and car will be beep at me, and then when I will come back to my body I will be like, oh, like, where am I? So I thought
Hmm.
something wrong with me, like I'm really tired and I'm not feeling
Hmm.
well, and there's this strange feeling about me. So I went to my GP and he took a blood test, and then the blood test came back really quickly. He gave me a call. He said, come back to the surgery, there's a
Hmm.
problem with you. So I went in and he said, your thyroid has ceased to function completely. And I was like,
Hmm.
what? And he said, yeah, you're not making any hormones whatsoever. So that's why you are now hypothyroid.
Hmm.
And I said, how does it come from? And he said, oh, it's common. Maybe, after your pregnancy, like, it was 2 years, like
Hmm.
my daughter was 2 years. So that was 2 years I was pregnant. So I was sure that it was
Hmm.
nothing to do with the pregnancy because it was too long ago. He said, yeah, the thyroid can get tired and you're just overwhelmed by everything what happened to you. So that's it. And he said, because of the result of the blood test, we can see that the antibodies, show something which shouldn't show. So it means it's autoimmune.
Hmm.
And I was like, autoimmune, really? Oh, he said, oh, don't worry about the term autoimmune. It just means that it happens out of it falls on you. It happens out of nowhere. And then there's no
That
cure.
sounds really scientific, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And autoimmune means there's no cure.
Hmm.
That's nice. So you'll have it all your life. So I was given a tablet for
Hmm.
hypothyroidism, which is levothyrox, which has a loads of bad side effect. And I was told to start a really low dose, like 25 microgram, and build it up to 150 microgram.
Hmm.
But when I was on 25 microgram, I really had bad side effect, like, my heart will go crazy. I'll start to sweat, to go cold. I'll feel like I was fainting. I'll feel
Hmm.
like my head was going to pop. I just felt worse.
Hmm.
So every time I was going to see him, I said, I still haven't gone up from 25 microgram. I can't. I
Hmm.
just really, really bad. And he said, no, you need to, because otherwise you're not going to replace your hormones and you're going to die and it's really bad for you and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I can't. So I went home and I started to research everything about
Hmm.
that pill. And I was like, first, it's not even to treat hypothyroidism. It's a pill which was made originally for being an antidepressant or for people who had cholesterol. So I was like, fuck, like something works for everything else. After that, it's just
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
And there's no proof that it brings up your hormones. Like, so I
Hmm.
was like, what the hell? What am I taking that? So I decided, because I sent an email to my GP and I said, listen, I'm really bad this week and I have visitors coming. I think it was my sister back then. And I said,
Hmm.
I'm going to go off that thing for a week. I'll take it off next week. And he said, are you crazy? You're going to do bad damage. You'll never recover. You'll never get better, whatever.
Hmm.
And it might even be a death sentence for you. And I was like, what the hell? So I said, you know what? I'm just going to stop. And that
Yeah.
week when I stopped, I started to feel better.
Hmm.
I started to laugh. I started to have a bit more energy. I started to sleep better. I was like, oh, interesting, you know. And my sister went home, and she said, you never look into YouTube. You don't do anything with your computer. And I said, no, no. I just check my email, and that's
Hmm.
it. She said you should look into, things like that. Like look, if you could find maybe, I don't know, a replacement for, something you
Yeah.
could replace to help your thyroid. So I started to look onto YouTube, and I think when you have a prayer, when you're really down to the bottom and you think you're never coming out, and
Hmm.
every day is I don't know, it's like I don't know, every day is your last day because you think I can't get through another day like that.
Yeah.
Every night I was going to bed, I was praying that for my kids, I wanted to get better, I wanted to heal, and
Yeah.
I wanted to to get the energy to be around them. And because I was saying things to my kids like, maybe mom won't be around too long, I was
Wow.
starting to feel like the doctor was telling me to feel, like
Hmm.
that it wasn't going to get better or things like that. So one evening I made this prayer and I said, listen, God, I really want you to help. And I said, and if you help me to heal, to find a way to get I'll swear to God, I'll be a better person.
Hmm.
I will help other people. I will become just and I'll be the best mom in the world, and all those promises and stuff. And then the following day, was on YouTube, started to find cure for hypothyroidism,
Mhm.
how to heal hypothyroidism naturally, and I found, I don't know, a list. Long like my arm, of people who were giving advice for free,
Mhm.
who came through the same experience, and a lot of people were like me. They were like, they didn't have any money to spend into healing, but
Mm.
they really wanted to be better. So it was all about simple, cheap, little life-changing acts that you
Mm.
can use.
Mm.
So first, I think I started to meditate.
Mhm.
To take time to think about myself and to love myself, to forgive myself, to go back in the past to all the trauma I had,
Mhm.
and to kind of clean it up, and to accept who I was, and to accept what was coming to me, and to say, listen, you know there's always, after the rain comes the sunshine. There's always a better day.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
started to be a bit more positive. And then I got a juicer, and I started to juice. And because I had no appetite, when you have no thyroid, the appetite, you can't eat anything. It's like
Mm.
cardboard in your mouth. So I just started to juice, and I juice and juice, and the lots of greens and lots of very nice things, and juicing for my kids. And then I bought a smoothie maker. And after probably a week or two, my ailments that I had a really bad cystic acne. It started to heal. I had a
Mm.
lupus on my face, like a red, dry patch down to there, and
Mhm.
very, kind of eczema on my face. The same
Mm.
started to heal. My, I had a really yellow colored eyes as well. They started to go white, and I don't know, my vision started to get better. Like,
Yeah.
I felt the energy in me. I felt the appetite was coming back.
Mhm.
I wanted to laugh. I wanted to catch. I had more. I had my friend who was doing my hair coming to my house, and she'll do my hair. She'll leave, and I'll be like, oh, wreck tired for talking for half
Mm.
an hour. And after that, I started to feel that I was, all those good moments I was having were, they were not
Yeah.
destroying me anymore. They were,
Yeah.
everything was going.
Yeah.
I was just thriving. Everything around me was thriving, and you get this confident boost, and this, I don't know. Almost like, I don't know, it's like, you almost see God, like, it's almost like
Mhm.
a divine intervention. You really think, my God, that's so simple, and
Mm.
that is it. Health is that. It's just,
Mm.
put everything into, uh, helping yourself, but not only by feeding yourself. It's as well talking to yourself,
Yeah.
have a connection to God, tell the truth to people, being
Mhm.
honest with yourself. Stop putting a mask and saying, no, no, everything is fine, I'm all right, or whatever.
Yeah.
Being truthful and telling
Yeah.
your journey to people. Look, I went through that, and I healed, so you can heal as well. And I
Mm.
started to be, I don't know, to be the better person I promised to be. And
Mhm.
that's how my healing journey came up to be. But as I said, the healing process was so fast. Like, everybody I was listening saying, like, give a year to see how you went better. But I really, for me, it was a matter of months. I
Mhm.
was like, I'd say about after 2 months, I said I healed about 80%. I knew
Wow.
I was, you know, everything I couldn't do anymore, I could do again. I
Mhm.
could paint, I could, do exercise, walk, cope on days with my kids, even change the beds, like things I couldn't do anymore.
Mm.
Everything was just, the energy and the confidence was back into me.
Mm.
And all that, things happened. I was like 45 when I had this big trauma and this big shock, and my
Yeah.
health collapsed. And now I am 50, and people who are around me and saw me from that lapse of years, they know
Mhm.
what I went through, but they are like, it was like you had nothing, because
Mhm.
you just, you know bounce back so quickly. And I said, no, because it was all on paper. I had like a long list of specialists I needed to go and see, to
Mhm.
check everything else. Like, I had rheumatoid arthritis, I had all sorts of problem with my heart, I had a problem with anxiety, I couldn't
Mhm.
handle the stress, I would
Mhm.
sweat profusely and shake like, like an old woman, for
Mhm.
hours
Mhm.
on end. I couldn't cope with anything. And all I did was, so this juicing, drinking apple cider vinegar with water diluted as well,
Mhm.
taking coconut oil.
Mhm.
I only discovered CBD oil just to help my daughter first. My last
Mhm.
daughter who was, vaccine injured. So all the
Mhm.
CBD oil I will get will be for her.
Mhm.
And then after that, I tried on. But I had just healing very naturally with
Mm-hmm.
basic stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
vitamin C powder, things like that, really basic and really nothing complicated,
Mm-hmm.
nothing expensive, nothing that you wouldn't find,
Mm-hmm.
and as well I opened my mind to all sorts of different things, like I opened my mind to trying, like I was a big fan, and I'm still am, of enema and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
things that I never thought was possible, or like I had to
Mm-hmm.
watch a video how
Mm-hmm.
you do that,
Mm.
and everything, if you put your heart to it and
Yep.
your will to heal, everything you do, anything, even
Yes.
a tiny little bit, is going to help you.
Yes. Yeah. That's absolutely magnificent. And the point you make about how quickly you can recover
That's
once you
it.
start to get the nutrition right and you start to get the
Yeah.
toxins out of the way, because they both play a
Oh,
part.
yeah.
It is amazing how fast your body knows what to do. It just needs to be supported and emotionally as well.
Yeah, and the more you look into it, the more you get people to tell you a bit more. So your knowledge expand,
Yeah.
your confidence become even stronger. So you actually become, like, I am 50 now, and I have more energy than when I was 20. Like, I
Yeah.
cope with my kids.
Yeah.
I go for a group walk with my friends every day.
Hmm.
And I am the youngest out of my two friends, like,
Hmm.
so it's amazing, if you really are determined and you're really positive and you really know what you're doing is good for you,
Yes.
you just that's it, it's a miracle. And the
Yeah.
miracle that I expected for my dad happened
Yeah.
to me, really.
Well, then it was meant to. So,
Yeah.
knowing what you know now, what would you, if you could go back to the 20-year-old self, what would you say to yourself?
I thought about that a lot. First, because I think I was a bit of a free spirit and stuff like that, I would say
Mhm.
never stop being a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen to yourself, because your gut is going to tell you,
Yeah.
what's right and what's not right. And even, you have these little feelings when you meet people, if they are good people or not,
Yeah.
like even with a mask on or not,
Yeah.
so just be yourself, love yourself, have trust in yourself.
Mm.
And as well, and as well, something I never knew how to do is say no. No,
Mm. Mm.
no, I don't want it. No, that's
Mhm.
enough. No, it's not for me. No, I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah.
Like now, I had this big argument with my GP that I meet once in a while, in the supermarket,
Mm.
and he has respect for me. So
Mhm.
don't be afraid to say no. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And your life is your life. It belongs to you. You do whatever you want to do with
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
And even if it shocks you, it shocks somebody else, your family or whatever,
Mhm.
that you don't want to get the chemo or you don't want to go that way, just tell them it's my life. I'm going to try it on this way. And that's
Mhm.
it. And that's
Mhm.
it. You just say no. No is an important thing to say. And as well, I will tell myself that not to vaccinate any of my kids, because I think it's useless.
Mhm.
You can unvaccinate. It's poison. I looked into viruses long before the coronavirus exists, and I'm
Mm.
telling you, they don't exist.
Mhm.
And we don't need to be poisoned further. We are perfect. We have a great immune system. I really believe that people who have a reaction after vaccine are people who have got a healthy immune system, and
Mhm.
people who don't have a reaction, you think they are fine, they actually
Mhm.
have an immune system compromised already.
Yep.
So the poison is trying to be lodged somewhere, but
Yep.
it's just a time bomb.
Yep.
Eventually it will come up, it will move into your body, and it will
Yes.
affect you eventually.
That makes perfect
So
sense.
yeah, and I said there's no, as somebody used to say, the only good vaccine is the one you never get.
Aye. Well, that's magnificent. So, if you could say anything to anyone watching this about any health issues they might have based on your experience, what would you say to them?
But I'll say, listen to your mind. And I said, have a little try yourself, be your own experiment.
Mm.
By example, reduce your medication, so research for your medication first,
Mm.
the side effect, because you can see sometimes the side effects are the what you want to be cured of. For example, you take an antidepressant and it gives you suicidal tendencies, like, so
Mhm.
just weigh all those things. Be try to reduce your medication, be the master of yourself, meaning I live my life the way I want to live it,
Mhm. Mhm.
like, and as well, just go into simple things, like, as I told you the last time we talked, when I started to heal myself, I actually was not in a good place financially.
Mm.
But since I heal myself, I'm in a better place because I don't spend my money where I used to spend it. I spend it in good things. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, so I started to save money because I was juicing a lot. And I went through a phase where we were all vegetarian in the house. So we saved a lot on the meat. And it was a good way to detox as well. And then, because I saved so much money towards that, we bought, reverse osmosis and the distiller as well for
Mhm.
the water.
Mhm.
And, then when you start to look after yourself, you save money. Like, by example, I don't use any beauty products. I use coconut oil, olive oil for my skin or whatever. But then you save on that as well, and everything adds up. And then you
Mhm.
can look after yourself even better. You have
Mhm.
the money to spend in magnesium flakes to do your all,
Yeah.
your magnesium oil yourself and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So, as I say, there's no uh, even somebody who's completely broke, they can get better just by one day just saying, listen, I just want to get better and have a, by example, a fasting day that day. And you'll
Mm.
see by the end of the day, you are already feeling better.
Yes.
So, and it doesn't cost anything. You're actually
Yeah.
saving money
Yeah.
because you're not eating the food that you should eat.
Yeah.
So it's just as simple as that. I will
Mhm.
tell them, you are your own master, and healing is super cheap,
Mm.
super easy, and super fast.
Mhm. That's beautiful. Thank you so
Yeah.
very much for all of that. That was amazing. You have a very clear mind as well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, it's a long way. My sister used to call me the doormat. I have friends who were not really friends with me or things like that. So
Yeah.
my journey have been not only physically, it's been intellectually because now I know so much more that what I used to know,
Yeah.
and as well, I know that I'm going to leave so much knowledge for my kids. So much
Yes.
traces behind me, and so much healing as well.
Mhm.
I'm trying to be a good person with my friends, tell them how I feel. I can never lie. Even if something shocked me, by example, my friends will say, oh, I'm going to take the vaccine, and I would tell them, you are free to do whatever you want, but you
Mhm.
should know this or this or that. Before, I would have kept all that opinion for myself, not
Mhm.
judging, thinking I wasn't the best to judge
Mhm.
anybody. But now I just tell people really the truth, what's in the bottom of my heart. And I always tell them it's because I care for you.
Yes.
I don't say that just to, you
Mm.
know, uh, put you out of your way. It's just because I love you. I love
Mm.
you and I want to protect you. And
Mhm.
that's it. And
Mhm.
I think nobody should be ashamed to say I love you.
Mhm. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That was absolutely magnificent. Thank you so very
Thank you. I
much.
was trying not to be too emotional today.
There's nothing wrong with expressing how you feel. There's a
Yeah,
big
yeah,
problem
yeah.
in not expressing how you feel.
You see, you gave us such an opportunity because I'm not talking even on my name, but I
Yeah.
think everybody who can talk with you and tell them about a real experience, it's a further healing for us
Yes.
because it's so good to be able to tell your story to even more people because
Yes.
it's something you can walk, follow the path, you can
Hmm.
connect with other people.
Yeah.
And instead of talking about what's on television or what's going on, in the mainstream media, we should all be talking about what have I done to go through, I don't know, the mourning of my dad or what I've done, and all exchanging all our knowledge
Hmm.
to heal each other and to get better in life. It will be
Yeah.
so much better if we didn't have,
Yeah.
mainstream media and television and all that.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons for doing this Back to Health series was because I was talking with my girlfriend. We were looking at a whole load of stuff, and she said you should be getting people to tell their stories, and she's absolutely right.
Yeah,
But it's also when you look back at it in ancient history and the ancient tribes and stuff, they used to tell their history through dance and through stories and through music.
yeah,
And what I'm hopeful is that we can start to get some of that frequency, some of that energy back as we
yeah,
share our stories with each other, because we're just normal people, we're just everyday
yeah.
people, and we're
And
sharing
I
that.
think, yeah, and I think as well there's the 11, what is it? No, 100 monkey tale.
Yeah.
There's a scientist who said
Yep.
that, you know that tale. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think when you get to 100 interview, I think something big is going to happen out there.
That would be interesting. I think we're at about number 18 or 19 right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But here we have all our life in front of us.
Of course we do, yeah, and
Yeah,
it's a long and healthy life.
yeah,
It can be amazing. Like you, I'm in better health now than I've
yeah,
been ever.
yeah. And you're a better person as well, and
Yeah.
you know that. by example, I have no regrets. Like if I had to go back to the young myself and said, "Oh,
Mm.
you're going to be super sick and it's going to be horrible," I wouldn't even tell myself that, because
No.
I want myself to go through it,
Yes.
because I learned so much and I'm such a
Yeah.
better person now. So for
Right.
me,
Yeah.
it was my the thing I had to go through to get
Yeah.
where I am now, and I'm really
Yeah.
grateful for it.
Yeah. But no, I couldn't agree more. And the stuff I've been through is exactly the same. I wouldn't want to re-experience it, but I'm glad I went through it.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I kind of try to protect every other people not to go
Yeah.
through that. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, just it changed me as a person, and I'm
Yeah.
so thankful for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm extremely grateful to you for having the courage to come on and share your story. I really appreciate it. We all do.
Oh, but the opportunity you gave to everybody and to me, a million thanks to you.
Well, likewise, and to you too. That's marvelous. I will get this edited up over the next day or two. It'll go on the other platforms first. I will send
Yeah.
you a link so you can have a listen to it and have a watch of it, and you can share
Yeah. Thank you so much. I told all my friends at school, all my friends I work with. And so you're going to get loads of subscribers, and
it.
it's just going to be, as I said, the 100
Yeah,
monkey thing. It's just going
fantastic.
to be fantastic. Yeah.
Fantastic. You look after yourself and stay
Yeah,
well.
you too. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Take care now. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Bye.